Now, every founder has this aspiration of building the perfect startup,
Yeah.
and every task that the
Exit in 2 years, basically.
Sorry?
Raise in 6 months and exit in 2 years.
Okay.
I think for me, Alumni Club is really about creating a like-minded tribe of people, of globally minded individuals in India to connect, network, build relationships, build long-lasting connections with.
You moved out of your house when you were 9?
So I basically left home at the age of 9, went to a boarding school in the North Hills in Shimla. There's no hours to an entrepreneur's life, right? Like you can be working from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. or like 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. There's no guarantee that you'll get like a 9 to 5 as a founder. Chasing perfection and trying to achieve perfection can be very self-limiting because it can hold yourself and others around you to unrealistic standards. You can't do 7-8 things in a day. You can only do 1 or 2, maximum 3 things in a day. We were interviewing Rashi, this amazing founder who's sitting there and talking about her brand.
Yes.
And then suddenly my mom's calling me up in the middle of the interview while I'm talking to Rashi, like, parcel aa gaya hai, OTP do,
Every hour is very valuable.
Correct.
So I'm constantly thinking that this hour that I'm giving to this date, it has to be lucrative. So my goal for the first date also.
इतिहास कहाँ है इस date की? तुम्हारा role क्या होगा इस relationship में?
What is your role in my life? There's a whole math going on at the back of my head because I'm like, okay, this is 1 hour and I could have probably, done my Excel work, or I could have spoken with my team, or made money, done research, and here I am sitting in this restaurant eating vegan food. There has to be an objective.
That's happened with me so many times, right? Like I've gone into dates and I walked out with like a business partner because I'm talking about work all the time. I've met characters from all walks of life, right? Like I've met people who are Harvard graduates who could have a lot of self-growth to engage in.
Right.
I've met, Amity founders who have blown me away, right? So,
right, of course.
Bro, I've been to dates where guys have been like, oh, you lift weights? Oh, I didn't know women could lift weights. Oh, you work? I didn't know women could work. Oh, you drive? I didn't know women could drive. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, what
Right.
century are you living in, bro? When we had a media company, I was attending my father's board meetings from the age of 7, 8.
Wow.
So I've been
Wow.
part of those meetings since day one.
Right.
It's very important for women to be financially independent, regardless of where they are, but especially in India. Did you buy your own house?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why not? Like I had some...
You built an amazing asset for yourself.
Like, we're really impressed with your journey as a first-time founder. I'm also very impressed with your life journey. Like, you've lived in so many places, you've studied in so many places. I want to know a little more about your life.
So, thank you for hosting. I have had multiple different life experiences, very international experiences. I've lived and studied across almost 21, 22 cities across 3 continents.
Wow.
And I've traveled a lot, met a lot of people, learned a lot, picked up a lot of new things and added to myself and built myself as a global person. And I think that's a huge reason of why I'm building Alumni Club today. I think it's a huge part of me, and I think it's a huge part of wanting to connect with like-minded folks who've gone through similar experiences internationally and have then returned and settled down in India. I think for me, Alumni Club is really about creating a like-minded tribe of people, of globally minded individuals in India to connect, network, build relationships, build long-lasting connections with. I think that's a huge part of why. I think my global travels and my global life is a huge part of why I'm currently building Alumni Club.
Mrinali, about you becoming an entrepreneur, right? You told me that you moved out of your house when you were 9.
Yeah. So I come from a family of boarding school kids, right? Like all all my family members, my parents side of the family have been to boarding school. I think it was the tradition, like it was a tradition in the making that even I had to go to the boarding school. So I had then, so I basically left home at the age of 9, went to a boarding school in the North Hills in Shimla in India.
Yes.
And very early on learned the importance of being independent, being self-sufficient, and just growing up individually, right? And then further on, I had the opportunity to sort of leave India and go to Singapore as well at the age of 14, 15.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to learn even more and, leave behind this whole culture that I had known my entire life and have my horizons widened to an unimaginable extent. So I guess I had those experiences as well.
So I want to know about your personal rituals. I mean, in India, everybody wants to know what goes behind an entrepreneur in an entrepreneur's life. What are behind the scenes, and especially when every single day you have to motivate yourself, inspire yourself and your team and your shareholders, your stakeholders. I want to know what is it that you practice every day to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah, I mean, like an entrepreneur's life there are no hours to an entrepreneur's life, right? Like you can be working from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. or like 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. There's no guarantee that you'll get like a 9 to 5 as a founder.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's really been a lot of self-care when it comes to my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health, right? So for example, for me, an hour a day in the gym is a must because it genuinely helps me decompress and prepare for the next day and stay, relaxed and ready for the next day.
Yeah.
15 to 30 minutes journaling at night before bed, very important because it helps, because I found that it helps me at least practice positive thinking and mindfulness, and it's really important to sort of stay focused mentally and stay sharp mentally as well.
Right.
So I found that to be very important.
Yeah.
And the third thing that I'm now implementing in my life is upskilling and self-educating myself whenever and wherever I can.
Interesting.
Right. So I'm not perfect. Nobody is.
Yeah.
No founder is.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to recognize one's strengths and weaknesses and play to one's strengths and develop one's weaknesses. So for me, wherever I can, I try and upskill myself and do something to sort of improve my knowledge, my skills, my ability to finish a task, so on and so forth.
I mean, yes, like you're handling probably 50 things in a day, from your stakeholder to your vendor to your client to your member, managing expectations throughout the day.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to stay focused on what it is that I actually want to do with all these different stakeholders and their goals and their KPIs and their styles, right?
Yeah.
So I think these routines really help me sort of stay grounded and true to who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And stay focused on what my goals are and what I want to do with this company. And that's very important for every founder, right?
Absolutely. I think focus is key.
Yeah, I agree.
So now every founder has this aspiration of building the perfect startup.
Yeah.
And every task that the
exit in 2 years, basically.
Sorry?
Raise in 6 months and exit in 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. Every entrepreneur has this level of perfection in his or her mind, especially when it comes to their own startups.
Yeah.
Do you believe it's a self-limiting thought, or do you believe in perfectionism?
A bit of both, right? Like I think chasing perfectionism, or at least holding oneself to one certain standards, helps at least me break out of my comfort zone and really go for growth, right?
Yeah.
If I hadn't sort of strived for perfection when it comes to my communications, when it comes to my events, my community, so on and so forth, there would be no room for growth, right? There would be
Right.
no sort of room for criticism there, and that's very important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I agree with you that chasing perfection and achieving and trying to achieve perfection can be very self-limiting, because it can hold yourself and others around you to unrealistic standards, which can be very difficult to actually implement. I also feel like sometimes perfectionism and sort of chasing perfectionism leads to a focus on actually the process of getting a task done instead of actually getting the task done.
Right.
So yes, perfectionism is good in certain contexts and certain circumstances.
Yes.
But as a founder, I'm learning how to embrace imperfectionism as well now. I think you have to, right? Like if you're in a business, then you have to work with people. You have to be surrounded by people, and
Yes.
and that's how it is.
There has to be room for mistakes. If
Yeah.
there are people, it's human to err.
Correct.
Yes.
Right, correct. So you need to sort of let go as a founder as well at some
Right.
point.
Big one.
Yeah.
So, I want to talk about, I think for every founder, the definition of success differs. And I want to know what does success mean to you? How does success look like for Mrinali?
So I personally don't believe in thinking too much about success, nor do I think that any founder should think too much about success.
Okay.
Because I think it's a form of retrospective thinking, right? And I saw this interview by Mr. Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who was talking about how true founders are constantly focused towards iterating on the work that they're currently focused on, right? They're constantly focused on the next milestone, and then the next milestone, and the next milestone after that. So there's no room or time or space to think about what you have already achieved, and neither would that ever be sufficient. So as a founder, no, I personally don't think about success as much. I think more about going forward and sort of achieving the next goal. But for me, a successful day, regardless, would look like a day where I can sort of accomplish the 3 priorities and give time and attention to the 3 priorities that I have in my life, right?
Yes. You were sharing with me that, in a day, it's better if we just jot down like 2 or 3 important things to do,
Yeah.
rather than getting into like 7, 8 or 9.
You can't do 7, 8 things in a day. You can only do 1 or 2, maximum 3 things in a day.
But as a founder, then you still have work, flowing in all the time throughout the day. So how do you sort of prioritize?
You need a good team, right? Like every founder needs a good team. I think a good team is the strongest asset any business, any founder can have.
Yes.
And as a founder, I've also learned how to delegate now. I've learned how to sort of let go and trust my team members with the work to be done as well.
Yes.
So I think that's how you sort of start accomplishing things as well.
Mrinali, I think the next question is very crucial.
Okay.
For any woman entrepreneur, I think family support becomes very crucial when it comes to crazy working hours, odd schedules, health. So how do you look at this? How do you feel, like what do you feel about family support when it comes to a woman entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, I have been very fortunate enough. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be born in a family where I've had plenty of support from all these entrepreneurs, who are the entrepreneurs themselves in this family, right?
Yes. Yeah.
My father is an entrepreneur, my mother is an entrepreneur, my brother is a startup entrepreneur.
Okay.
So there's a lot of wisdom and experience and support to go around, and I've been very fortunate to have that as a base of knowledge. But that being said, like as a founder, you don't always have support from external stakeholders, right? Sometimes when I'm working late hours, or there are times when I'm sort of experimenting on something new and just doing something, and then I may not necessarily get a support from my parents in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, like we were at the Rashi event, right?
Yes.
And we were interviewing Rashi, this amazing founder who's sitting there and talking about her brand.
Yes.
And then suddenly my mom's calling me up in the middle of the interview while I'm talking to Rashi, like, parcel aa gaya hai, OTP do, So There are these small things that create disruptions to your workflow and your work life, but then you just sort of have to get over it and go ahead regardless, right?
So, within all this chaos, managing different stakeholders, I believe you do events,
Yeah.
you have a active community. It's almost like a networking platform for a lot of like-minded creative individuals. So, managing all of these, like you have different revenue channels, how does one stay grounded as a founder? How do you stay true to your business idea?
See, initially, I'm like a very young founder, right? Like I have only been working on Alumni Club for the past 1.5 years, and for any startup, its initial 2-3 years are very dynamic, very adaptive. There are a lot of pivots, right?
Yeah.
So I personally don't think that founders should stay true to their original vision or idea for the first 2-3 years. I think founders should be adaptive, they should be responsive, they should be aware of what's happening in the market around them and be able to quickly adapt to the same.
Yes.
What I do think is true is that founders should have a strong understanding of what the problem statement is in the market and stay as true and as close to that problem statement for their consumers as possible. I think that is very important.
Right.
But the whole solution, the whole business model, the revenue streams, they're all adaptive. The business should be built around, this should be adapted. Right? It's something that's built, it's not something that's structured or.
Right.
It's
That's the difference between a startup and a corporate. Like.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Things are not written on stone.
Yeah, correct.
Yes. So now from here, like I do want to ask about the original vision of the Alumni Club.
Yes.
And why you founded this fantastic club, exclusive members, inclusive attitude. I think it's quite hard to, it's quite a difficult balance to strike.
So I'll start with why I started Alumni Club, right? I had spent back then almost 7 years abroad, and I was coming back after 7 years back to India in 2016.
Okay.
And I personally didn't have any social or professional circle of mine.
Of course.
Right? Like,
so when you say 7 years abroad, means 7 years in one place or 7 years?
Across the world, right? So of course I had a global network, but I didn't really know anybody, or nor was I very close to anybody in Delhi or in India. I think partially I think that was one of the reasons why I started Alumni Club, right? I wanted to create a like-minded tribe of individuals who I could connect with, who I could dialogue with, who I could build long-lasting relationships with.
Yes.
I mean, looking back now, it would have been cheaper for me to just join another club, but here we are. Yeah, I think it sort of partially stemmed from that. And why else? Like, I wanted to solve the problem when I came back home, right? Like,
yes.
A lot of my friends, when they came back home with me, back to India, they were facing similar issues, similar challenges of not being able to connect with their former friends, their existing family, their previous, corresponders.
Yes.
Because you've grown as a person, right? You've grown in the past 7 years.
Yes.
You've gone through completely different circumstances. You've been exposed to so much. You've been, you've broadened your horizons to a point that's unimaginable. So when you come back to India, there is going to be a dissonance between your previous circles and your current mindset. For me, when I faced that issue, I didn't see the point in running away from it and running back to US or UK. I wanted to sit here and solve that problem because I knew that I wasn't the only one who was facing it, right? Like, there are 10 more people around the block who are facing the same issue.
Yes.
Maybe there's something here to be explored.
Fantastic. So that's how you kind of
came up.
Came up with the idea. Yeah. Because, it's true even for like, I was in Bombay for some time, for 5-6 years. And when I came back, although my schooling was from Delhi, I just couldn't connect with a lot of old friends because
Yeah.
my outlook had changed, and
Yeah.
I had worked in this, private bank in South Bombay,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was just a different person. So for me to even connect to, so I think basically what this means is that the alumni club has people who are very growth oriented.
Yes.
I think that's a very, very big connecting factor.
Yes, I think that's something that we definitely look when we're building an get an inclusive community, right? For us, we want to create a tribe of individuals who can who have not only showcased their own sense of personal and professional achievements and have shown a sense of growth via those achievements, but can also create growth for the community by giving back to the community, right? By supporting the journeys for other members as well. I think
Yes.
that is very important for building any community that's cooperative and resourceful and supportive, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, when I was at one of your events, I met two entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and I assumed that they are from Ivy League institutions,
Yeah.
whereas they turned out to be Shark Tank entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I think I learned so much about just finding a company and raising money for the first time, building a world-class product. So basically what it meant was that the alumni club not just has exclusive members but is also very inclusive in its thought process, because both the founders were not Ivy League graduates. They were two boys from a small town in India.
Yeah, they come from very humble backgrounds. They have achieved a lot in their life
Yes.
professionally. And when I spoke to them initially, it completely blew me away. Like,
Yes.
what their vision was, what they wanted to build, and how they wanted to build something that was disruptive and bigger than themselves, and something that could shake the entire country. Like, that was their original vision.
I think they have to quite an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that absolutely blew me away, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that is what inspired me and sort of made me want to include them in the community, because I could see how they could create value for the community.
Yeah.
And how they could derive value from the community as well.
Mrinali, I have a very important question for a community-driven business.
Yes.
I feel this takes a lot from the founder.
Yes.
Personally, you're involved with all your members.
Yes.
How do you balance your day, your thoughts?
I think the calls that I had like 5 minutes ago just sort of were like a small glimpse of the kind of things I have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
I think I have learned now basic things like boundaries, focusing on oneself, positive thinking, so on and so forth. And of course, the idea of a quid pro quo, right? Be ready to give and receive, right?
Right.
So I think those kind of values and keeping them at the center of every conversation, keeping them at the center of every relationship that I have be it with the members, be it with the B2B partners, be it with my team members, I think that is is something that helps me stay sane and centered as a founder.
And what is it that the alumni club members have? What do they get when they become a part of this club?
So for me, the primary value creation for my members would be A, the like-minded network that we're creating for them.
Yes.
And B, the feeling of belongingness. Like I mentioned earlier, when you have gone through a certain amount of exposure, when you have pushed yourself out of your comfort zone and created that growth and changed your outlook in life, you want to be able to go ahead in life, right? You don't want to relapse back.
You don't want to be boxed in that same category as per your school or your college. You just want to broaden your horizons.
Correct, right? And that's really where I was coming from when I started Alumni Club. Like, I wanted to create a tribe and a network and a community of such individuals who have gone through that experiences and have gone ahead with their lives in India now after coming back. And connecting all of them to create these dynamic, these phenomenal, these lovely conversations that we have over our events, right? To serve as a base for something more, right? So be it finding your partners, be it finding your co-founders, making new friends, hiring new people, getting hired by someone new. There are endless number of possibilities
Yes.
in terms of what one can do with the community. Like
Yes.
it's completely up to the person itself. But I think for me, it was really about first of all creating that base, creating that concentrating that room, concentrating a room with the greatest minds in the country, the greatest resources in the country,
Yeah.
and then taking it forward from there.
Right. In my head, because I'm restarting my company, every hour is very valuable.
Correct.
So I'm constantly thinking that this hour that I'm giving to this date, it has to be lucrative. So my goal for the first date also.
डेट की तुम्हारा रोल क्या होएगा इस रिलेशनशिप में?
What is your role in my life? Are you seeing a future? Is this fruitful, or what do you need in a relationship? I'm
Yeah.
matching. There's a whole math going on at the back of my head, because I'm like, okay, this is 1 hour, and I could have probably done my Excel work, or I could have spoken with my team, or
Made money,
done research, and here I am sitting in this restaurant eating vegan food. There has to be an objective. And I actually asked both the people, like, what is your end goal of meeting somebody? Like, what is the, whereas I've been otherwise advised that you should not have an end goal when you're going for something like this. But it's difficult, I think, as a founder, right? Time is money. Like,
yeah, it is. It's very difficult, right? It impacts you in two things, right? Like you have to be very much more careful as a founder when it comes to picking a partner as compared to in any other professional role, because
Right.
of how important your mindset is to the health and the direction of the company, right? Like if you're picking someone as intimate as a partner, it's like picking like a co-founder, right?
Right.
You have to make sure that you are compatible, there are strengths that align, and of course that they will support you with the turbulence of ups and downs of the company and everything.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult because of the time constraints, because of the irregular schedules, and because of how important it is for you to be focused on your own mindset. Right?
And I feel like that 1 hour I could have spent probably with my mentor.
Yeah, and been productive professionally, right? Yeah.
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 And especially when there is a work conversation in a date, then it kind of triggers that side even more, right? Like
that's happened with me so many times, right? Like I've gone into dates and I walked out with like a business partner because I'm talking about work all the time. But yeah, it's happened.
So basically there's no balancing act, right? Like it's a very integral part of your life.
What, dating?
Your work.
Your work, yeah, of course.
I don't think dating is I think dating is a choice.
It's a hobby, it's a side activity.
It's a side activity.
Yeah, no, work, because it defines your purpose, it defines who you are as a person, your self-accomplishments. It defines why women need to work. So
I think the more I meet guys, and there's still surprise in the opposite gender that, wow, you're working this many hours. Wow, you're unmarried at 34. You're okay with that fact. Wow, work is still your priority despite being unmarried at 34. People still get surprised with these talks.
Bro, I've been to dates where guys have been like, oh, you lift weights? Oh, I don't know women could lift weights. Oh, you work? I don't know women could work. Oh, you drive? I don't know women could drive. And I'm like,
really?
Oh, what
drive?
Century are you living in, bro? कहाँ से आए हो?
I think ये Delhi NCR का problem है या क्या है? I always wonder.
Maybe it's more of a Delhi boy.
So, but there's something very, because at the end of the day you're still like, I mean, I know you're from Agra, and I'm also born in Kanpur.
No way.
Yes.
My mom's from Kanpur.
Okay. So we all have a North Indian mentality.
Yeah.
So there's still something very comforting about, the North Indian sort of culture.
Yeah.
However, it has its own
it has its charms as well.
Yeah.
It has its drawbacks. It has its charms. One thing that I did realize that as a founder is that I do appreciate the business mentality that I have grown up with as a banya, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think growing up, both my parents, my uncles, aunties, dada, dadis, chacha, chachis, everybody's been a business person in their own
Right.
industries and in their own respective fields, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think that banya culture, that banya mentality has been a huge strength and like a feather in my cap, because I have had so much learning from them, right? Like,
Yeah.
I started attending my father, like, so for example, my father started a company when I was around 3 or 4. Right?
Okay.
He's worked across different industries, from real estate, media, FMCG, so on and so forth. And when we had a media company, I was attending my father's board meetings from the age of 7, 8.
Wow.
So I've been
Wow.
part of those meetings since day one.
Right.
Right? Like, for me, my education was like, yes, like schooling up till 3 p.m.
Yeah.
and then meetings from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah. The real education.
The real education.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what language
Yeah.
these corporate suits were speaking, right? But it was in there somewhere, like, that business sense was being instilled in me somewhere.
Right.
Finally, at the age of 14, I was given this grand responsibility of jotting down notes in the meeting room.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
finally got some responsibility in the company. And then slowly sort of learned more about the ship and the ropes, and sort of learned more about how business works.
I think, how does your education play out? Do you feel like, for a lot of people who are confused about getting a business degree versus learning things on the job, and I know this is something even we've spoken about so many times.
Yeah.
So, but what's your true, honest, unbiased opinion on, does the MBA count or not?
Honestly, I was in two minds about this, like up till a few months ago as well,
Yes.
right? And I've realized that nothing teaches you like life does. Like, nothing will teach you like experience will. I think that an individual can grow in two ways, right? Education and experience, so an MBA or a startup. Education, what it does is that it helps you navigate and pick the right path ahead. What it does, when you're starting a company, there are endless things that you can do. There's no right or wrong. There's no black and white when it comes to running a company, right?
Yeah.
And what education does is that it helps you filter out the wrong decisions that you can possibly take and light up the right decisions that you can take to take the company ahead, which makes the whole growth journey less turbulent, right?
Yeah.
It makes the whole journey smoother. It makes your growth faster.
Yeah.
So I think for me, education and experience go hand in hand. There's no one
That's the
substituting the
ideal.
other. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like, for example, there's one aunt of mine in Kanpur, like, who inspires me to date.
Okay.
She is someone who's done her master's from Kellogg's.
Okay.
For bachelor's and master's from Kellogg's.
Yeah.
Another executive course from Harvard.
Okay.
PhD from IIT.
Wow.
Is now part of the family business, looking at the investments arm.
Okay.
So she maybe, I don't know, maybe she didn't have the opportunity to work with the core business, maybe she did, I don't know. But regardless of what the situation was, she made the best use of her resources and did something that added to her family's business.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she's currently supporting her 9-year-old daughter become an entrepreneur as well.
Okay.
And on top of that, she's flying like 50 times a year across the world, speaking at these wonderful conferences as the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And on top of the year, she's an angel investor that's, like one of the key angel investors of the country.
Right.
And on top of that, it goes on. So there's no limit to what she has accomplished. And that's one of the reasons why she inspires me so much. Right? There's no limit in terms of what you can accomplish when it comes to education and experience.
Right. I mean, I have my mentor, one of my mentors. She did her master's at 42.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And she went to Oxford. And, so when we have these conversations like, oh, you're at this age and you know, they seem so, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what does you wanting to study a subject have anything to do with how old you are?
Yeah.
And she has 2 children and she has a family.
Yeah.
You know, I feel this balancing question just ends up becoming more important for women, unfortunately, rather than the other gender. But I think there are women in India who have kind of defied these norms. There was the first ever woman who I met was an IS officer when I was really, really young. And I had just seen my own mother growing up, who's a homemaker. So in my mind, I always, if someone would ask me, what do you want to do? I would say, I want to get married and I want to have 10 children. And that's my goal. Because I saw my mom and I saw how happy she was. And I said, oh wow, this is amazing. Until I met this lady who was an IS officer. She had 3 children and she sat with all the dads amongst the men, and she was having these conversations about, I don't know what, about the country, about the news. Like, she was a part of the group. And that's when I started seeing, you know, like a different side to women. Like, I was really young. I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And I don't think I've forgotten that person ever since. And I also feel that especially in India, it's very important for women to work. I think having a financial strength, independence, irrespective of how much you're making, I mean, even if you're coming from like wealth, but still having your own income.
Very important.
Just changes things, changes a lot of things.
It does. It's very important for women to be financially independent, regardless of where they are, but especially in India.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, right? A, it's your own wealth, it's your own sense of achievement. Why should you not have the same?
Yeah.
B, I personally believe that it's a very important way for women to be able to walk away from any situation if they ever have to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they're ever in any situation where they don't feel safe, where they feel like they should not be a part of it,
yes,
walk away.
I think that's what scares people about working women, that she can just get up and, you know, if
I
I
agree.
mistreat her, she's going to just leave.
I agree. Like, I told my parents that, okay, one of my financial goals for this year or next year is to be able to purchase my own house.
Yes.
Because regardless of when I get married, I want to be able to have my own house before I get married.
Yeah.
And my first response from my father was like, then nobody's going to marry you. I'm like, nah, kare, I don't want to marry the guy like that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Fast forward a few years, like I have my own house, but that's a big hiccup, you know. I get asked questions like this: why do you need your own place? Why did you have to spend your money in your house? Like, you could have invested in stocks.
Did you buy your own house?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why not? Like, I had some...
you built an amazing asset for yourself. That's amazing.
And I feel safe. I still live with my parents, but I have my own place.
Yeah, and you can use that for income generation, right? Like, you can easily use that for anything you want.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Kudos to you.
Yeah. I want to know, do you want to work with a co-founder or not?
Good question. Currently, no. I'm okay without a co-founder.
And why is that?
अब तक कर लिए तो कर लेंगे ना आगे. अब तक जो किया अपने आप ही किया है, right?
Yeah.
आगे भी कर ही लेंगे.
बिल्कुल, हाँ.
I think I've learned a lot as a solo founder.
Yeah.
And I think that the less you're given, the more you learn, the more adaptive, the more you become more adaptive, the more resilient you become. You do more with less, right?
Yeah.
So, ठीक है, I'm fine without a co-founder right now. If I ever need, or if I ever feel the need for onboarding expertise to the level of a CXO, to the level of a co-founder, then of course I'll be open to that process and I'll be open to that journey. But abhi I'm not looking.
Okay. Mrinali, tell me, do you have, so we spoke about a co-founder, but I also want to know about, then, you know, you always need to bounce off ideas,
Huh.
you know, and who do you bounce off your ideas with? Is it your mentors or is it your friends?
Mentors, friends, family members, strangers. Really, it depends. Like, depends on what the idea is about, and it depends on what the other person's key strengths are, right? A lesson that I learned is don't share everything with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. Understand what the
Don't
other
share everything with everyone.
don't share everything with everyone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's better to sort of recognize what the other person's strengths are, what their interests are, and then play to their strengths by sharing where you need help accordingly, right? Like share your pain points with them accordingly.
So tell me about mentors then. Like, what kind of things do you, what kind of conversations do you have with your mentors, and how does it help you?
So I used to have mentors. I had 2 to 3 mentors about half a year ago. They helped me get from point A to point B.
Yes.
And I have now outgrown where what I could have derived from them, and I've now outgrown what I could have learned from them. I'm very grateful for all the support that I
Yeah.
had with them, but I am now in the process of onboarding new mentors
Yeah.
for not only myself but also for Alumni Club as a community.
Yeah.
I want to be able to create that professional growth
Yeah.
and light up that journey
Yeah.
for everybody in the community as well.
Yes. Okay. So, as a founder of a community driven business, what are, like, say, 3 key things that you feel are non negotiable
For what?
for being a founder of a community driven business?
A, the members first approach.
Okay.
Any founder of a community driven business
Yeah.
needs to be able to put the members first when negotiating or talking about the business with
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Create value for your members first, because ultimately that's how you're going to create value for your business.
Yeah.
Number 2, B, very strong people management and communication skills.
Yeah.
Because being in India, you're going to meet all kinds of characters, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell me
they-
more about that.
I've met characters from all walks of life, right? Like I've met people who are Harvard graduates who could have a lot of self growth to engage in.
Right.
I've met Amity founders who have blown me away, right? So,
Right. Of course.
yeah, so I mean,
It's not always the degree and the certificates. Like, I
yeah.
was having that conversation with Rashi, that what do you look at when you hire somebody in your team? What are you looking at? And she actually said, before anything else, we look at the culture. Will this person fit in the culture?
Yeah.
Does this person have the same ethics and values
Yeah.
that we follow?
Yeah.
And in my short period of doing business,
Yeah.
I have come down to the same conclusion. Like, I've hired people from phenomenal production houses,
Yes.
and I just can't work with them. They are too rigid to learn anything. And although they've been educated from one of the best institutes, I don't see that. I've seen people without degrees perform way better and produce much better content, much better quality content, much easier to work with, much more fun to hang out with than these guys who feel that, you know, I have this degree and I'm from the best place and maybe I don't need to work that hard anymore. Do you get that? Do you have?
Yes, I mean, of course, there are individual sort of red herrings in the community as well,
Yeah.
right? That sort of come off as one-offs. In terms of the team members, right? Like, I think I completely agree with you, right? I've personally hired experts charging 1.6L a month, and I've hired interns charging 5K a month,
Yeah.
right? And as a founder, there have been so many instances where I've derived more value from the intern as compared to the expert.
Yeah.
And I personally think it's the lack of ego that comes into play when it comes to success, right?
Yeah.
An individual needs to be open to experimenting, to learning new things, to be
Yeah.
hands-on when it comes to the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially in a startup environment where you have to do
Yeah.
every single thing yourself, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a team of 500 supporting you. You don't have an offshore team working late hours,
Yeah.
supporting you overnight. That's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to do the work yourself and get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
So I think especially in a startup environment, the lack of ego and the match with the culture is very, very important.
Yeah. For sure. And Mrinalini, how do you plan to grow the alumni club? Like, do you plan to grow geographically, or do you plan to grow, say, number of events wise throughout the year? Do you have something in mind right now?
3 KPIs for us that might measure success and growth. Yes, geographic expansion. By the end of this year, I want to be active in Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore.
Okay, lovely.
And we want to be able to create that intercity network between network members, because we want, let's say, someone working in media in Delhi to be able to connect with someone working in advertising in Bangalore.
Yes.
Right? Like, I want those synergies happening.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want that to happen.
Yeah.
So that's definitely important. Number 2, we want an increase in the value creation via our community.
Yeah.
So not just events and experiences, but how can Alumni Club really create and generate unique professional value for our network members?
Yeah.
So for example, can we onboard new members, new mentors?
Yeah.
Can we create job opportunities via our network?
Yeah.
Can we find investors to invest in the startups in our community?
Yeah.
Can we find international firms who want to grow via the companies in our network?
Okay.
Can our companies go abroad and internationalize into foreign markets? The limit is there's no limit in terms of what you can really do with the community, right?
Absolutely.
So like, my ultimate vision is to be able to build a global community with Alumni Club. Like, I want to have a chapter in every major city in the world.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to facilitate business activities between those cities.
Right.
So for example, let's say we have a chapter in Istanbul.
Yeah.
And we have a chapter in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Right? I want tech companies owner, like a IT services company's owner, to be able to find a client in Istanbul.
Fantastic.
Through Alumni Club. I want that.
I think that's very lucrative.
That's what I want.
There was a time where in 2016-17, the SEO and SMM market in India was very premature.
Yeah.
So I had a few high-end clients for whom I could not get vendors in India.
Yeah.
And I actually got a vendor from New York.
Yeah.
And for me to reach, I mean, it was just by chance that I was in New York City and I met these people via friends.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I would have been able to manage that otherwise. So I do feel there's a dire need for people who think out of the box, especially. Like, I wanted to bring the best kind of expertise for my clients.
And to be able to avail those resources at ease, you need to have a sticky community that trusts each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
For sure.
If there's someone asking for help in New York, you need to be able to trust and verify that resource. Who is that person asking you for help in New York?
Yeah.
Before helping them out.
Yeah.
And that's where Alumni Club's community comes into play.
Yeah. Yeah, you've done a background check on every member.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the power of like-mindedness as well,
yes.
right?
Yes. There's this person called Andrew Young who hosts these tech events in the US.
Okay.
Started with LA because the scene in technology was not very happening, and founders were not being able to meet each other, so he started hosting these small get-togethers.
Yeah.
Now it's grown into this full-fledged community.
Yeah.
And he tweets about it regularly.
Yeah.
That, hey, I'm hosting this evening in New York City and I'm hosting this in LA. He keeps doing up-down. So are you ready for, because when I read his tweets, I'm just imagining, okay, he's the founder of a community-driven startup.
Yes.
Making like-minded people meet.
Yes.
And that community is I've literally seen it grow in the past 5 years.
Yes.
From like 1 to 200 people commenting on his
Phenomenal.
Twitter,
Yeah.
you know, like, hey, Andrew, thanks a lot. This helped me.
Yeah.
This was fantastic. Great event. Now he's doing sponsored events. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's just grown into this business,
Yeah.
but meaningful, useful
Yeah.
kind of a setup. However, I do imagine like this guy, like yesterday he was in New York and now he's in LA.
I mean, if men can do that, then why can't we, right? Men travel for work all the time. They take cross-Atlantic flights all the time. They take international flights all the time.
Yeah,
Why can't we?
of course.
So, but in all seriousness, I do imagine that to be a significant obstacle after a certain point, right? Like, I am young right now. I have the energy. I have the time. I can do it right now.
Yeah.
After a certain point, it's not sustainable for any founder, and that's why you need a team, right? You need a team of chapter leaders, you need a team of associates to be able to help you, support you on ground, and be your ears and eyes on ground.
Yeah.
And that's why we've already started appointing those chapter leaders in the Indian cities where we're currently present.
Right.
It helps us understand the local market and the local culture on a much more intimate level, on a more genuine level.
Yeah.
And it helps us sort of grow a lot more organically and create more ideas organically as well.
So you've already started delegating and...
Yeah, like for example, that brunch event was an idea of the Delhi chapter head that we have in Delhi.
Lovely.
She's currently in Japan, but I wish you would have
wow.
met her. Yeah.
Fantastic.
But it was actually her idea.
What a fantastic... I mean, it sounds so amazing. It sounds like a global community, basically, that you're out to build a global community.
It is. We want to become that global like-minded community.
Right. So, you have to choose one. Okay. Startup versus MBA.
Startup.
Working out versus sitting on the couch.
Working out.
Reading versus watching Netflix.
Reading.
I want to know like 2 of your favorite books.
Currently, I'm reading Hyperfocus by Chris Bailey.
Okay.
It's talking about how, how your time and your attention are both controllable resources that you need to be able to indulge in and, expend at the right points, on the right people, on the right tasks to be able to fuel your growth and productivity.
Yes.
Your focus, your attention is a very valuable resource.
Yes.
Do not give it away that easily. Choose where you want to spend it.
It's exactly coming from, like, that's exactly what I was saying. I feel dating for founders is a very difficult choice because, you're out in the dating pool.
Yes.
And I'm sorry I'm deviating.
Yes.
But this exactly proves how, the mind works.
Yes.
Because you're constantly thinking that I have these 3 hours. Either I can rest.
Yes.
I can probably go and talk to a mentor.
Yes.
Or I can go on a date with somebody unknown and hear someone's story. And that person may or may not be a part of my future.
Yes. So you want to decide, right? Like, it's not just your time, it's also your mental real estate, your mental space that you're spending on that date.
Yeah.
So you need to decide if that's something that you actually want to do or if that's something that you want to focus more towards your work.
Yeah.
The second book I'm reading is the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Currently reading that and learning a lot from it. I think I've realized that spirituality is basically a form of mental health back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in those ancient days.
Yeah.
And it talks about how one needs to focus and sort of change the worldview, right? Like focus on yourself as an entity, and then understand that you are as an individual entity, a single. Well, I don't know how to articulate it because it's all in Bhagavad
You can say it
Gita.
in Hindi.
So the part where I have read in Bhagavad Gita is basically talking about how there are 3 elements in life, 3 elements in society, right?
Okay.
There's you yourself, your soul, your entity. There's the other person sitting in front of you and their soul and entity and their relationship with you. And there's the whole society and the whole social circle and the whole natural circle and the natural hierarchy. So it's you as an individual, it's like sort of me as an individual, it's you as an individual, our relationship, and the society as a whole, how these three are three entities that you need to constantly align yourself with when
Okay.
it comes to any task that you do.
Okay.
So for example, if you're picking a career, right?
Right.
How are you creating value for yourself as an individual?
Yes.
How am I creating value for you as an individual in our relationship? And how am I creating value for the whole society as a
Right.
whole? So these are the three key stakeholders that I need to align myself to at any given point of time.
For a fulfilled life.
For a fulfilled life.
It sounds very similar to Ikigai.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I haven't read that one yet.
Yes. But yes, I think it's the general philosophy is sounding very similar.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
So, date night versus karaoke with friends.
Karaoke with friends.
I don't think founders want to date.
Karaoke dates. How about that?
Rare. So, Mrinali, what do you think about ageists? People who say that there's a certain age and a stage in life where you should start a business.
Nonsense. No, yeah, like I don't think, ideally there is no age, there is no
You're being too sophisticated about it. Like
अच्छा.
things we hear कि शादी करने के बाद start करना, बच्चे करने के बाद start करना,
हाँ.
एक बार job कर लो 10-15 साल फिर start करना.
Yeah, I'm sure all of that feedback is coming from the well-wishers, but honestly, I don't think it's required or it's a prerequisite. You can be entrepreneurial at any age. You can start your company. You can start any venture that you want at any age. You know, like entrepreneurship is just about aligning yourself to your passion, to your likes, and taking self-initiative to bull ahead when it comes to those likes, which can happen at any age, at any shape and form.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my mom wanted to start her art gallery when she was 45.
Yeah.
And I was helping her with that, you know, like trying to see where we can find a space, how can we coordinate with the existing art curators, how to create footfall, so on and so forth. So that can happen at her age, right? Like my grandmother is post 75, around 78 at the moment, has lived a phenomenal life, right? Like, and I'm trying to motivate her and encourage her to write a book, to share her experiences,
Yeah.
right? So those can be entrepreneurial journeys that can happen at any age, ideally, right?
Yeah.
But yes, realistically and pragmatically, it is difficult, especially as women, to be entrepreneurial, right?
Yes.
Like my mother has certain responsibilities,
Yeah.
certain certain roles that she has to play, which take away her focus
Yeah.
at this age.
Yeah.
You know, my grandmother's health is deteriorating. Her mental health is also deteriorating. It's not easy for her to remember things.
Right.
So it is difficult for her
Yeah.
to ideally indulge in storytelling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I understand that ideally there is no age, right? Like there's no age to pursue passion. But realistically, pragmatically, things like responsibilities, things like your own health, your own safety come into play.
Yeah.